Welcome back, CEDIA 2020. Thanks for joining us here at Modus VR. So we are moving into our 6th demo of the day, and this space is going to be a lot of fun. So what we're showing here for those who are just joining us for the first time around, we are showing a start-to-finish workflow for designing and selling projects in Modus VR. So what is Modus VR? Well, it's a virtual reality-based sales and design platform for AV professionals. What we have is a few tools that we're going to show you today, and I'll jump in here to our launcher software. So the first question that people ask is, how long does it take to do this? How many days am I going to invest in creating these amazing VR spaces? And the answer is no days. You're going to spend roughly 30 minutes to an hour, and when you get real good at it like our guys are, you'll see this happens super quick. So the first step in creating a space like this is actually coming in and finding a floor plan. So we've got all these nice little floor plans that we had drawn up for us, and this space actually came from one of our customers. So we'll just call this AV professional room. Okay. So we'll come in here, and this is actually going to be a more complicated space than just a square or rectangular box. So I'm going to come in here and we're going to use a reference image. So we'll pull up our floor plan from this folder, and we are on room number 6. Now this room is pretty cool. It features a small media room off the side of a rec room, and so we're going to actually capture all this space because the integrator told us that they wanted to put a couple televisions on the side walls here, and then we also have the AV system in this room. So we'll actually highlight this space and this space. So defining the actual boundaries of the room is the first thing we need to do in Modus. So once I have a reference image in here, I can actually calibrate it. And so right here it's telling me you need to calibrate this image. So what you want to do is you want to find the longest length that's known in the floor plan and trace on top of it. So this 30-foot length of the room is the longest known or called out dimension. So I'll just draw a nice straight line on this. Now I'll show you what happens if you actually go off kilter a little bit. We know that's 30 feet. It's actually going to rotate the floor plan, so I'm going to recalibrate that because we want it to be as straight as possible. The nice thing about this is, let's say you're scanning a hand-drawn floor plan, and your scanner puts it off kilter just a tiny bit. This will readjust it and make it nice and straight so everything lines up in Modus. So once you've done that, we can also set the transparency. I'll make this a little darker so it can be seen a little bit more clearly, and then we just turn off our reference. Now I know from previous experience that this is a 9-foot high room, so we'll just leave that alone. You can change here if you wanted to go to metrics. If you're working with outside of the US, I'd suppose, just about everywhere else in the world, you'd want the metric system. I'm also going to change our snapping down to 1 inch so we get this pretty precise. So to start drawing this room out, I just have to click Add and create one wall, and then from there I can actually start creating all my walls. And it will actually automatically attach from each point of origin that I snap to here. So real quickly, just draw out the basic shape of the room. Now, I made that wall longer. We're not going to worry about this part of the room because it's not part of the space. So then I can just go like so and make it a little shorter, get that angle to 90 degrees. Okay, so now we'll just go in here and validate some of our references here to make sure that things are accurate. Get these all snapped into place like so. And then we'll want to just double check our actual measurements. So yeah, we're off by 1 inch here, like so. Whoops. There we go. And we'll actually create these little wall blocks here too, so that this is real easy to recreate once they get into VR. Now, so half the creation process, or actually the bulk of the creation process actually happens inside of the VR system. And so we'll switch over to that, and I've got a couple guys from the team hanging out, waiting for me to be done with this floor plan side. But the bulk of the room design happens in VR. Just drawing out the basics of the space is all you really do. So 1211, looking good there. We've got 30 feet. We're at 31. Where are we off? Oh, 30 feet 1 inches. I just don't know how to read that. Perfect, 30 feet. All right, so that's looking pretty good. So what I'll do is I'll save this, and then we'll head into VR to actually edit and populate the room out. So all the things like the couches, the furniture, all the AV gear, everything that goes into the room, all happens in VR. So let's check in with Ken and Scott on the VR side of things and see if they are ready to rock and roll. Guys, are you there? All right, just switching over. Awesome. I see you guys on screen, so why don't you guys go ahead and take it away and just tell us what you're working through. You guys mind if I time you just to see how long this takes? I know Scott already got a head start. All right. Scott got a 10, we'll call it a 10-second head start. But he's already rocking away. Go ahead, guys.
Have the screen on this wall that I'm pointing at, and that's really the crux of the issue here. So I'm going to go ahead and put a screen on the wall here, Patrick. So if you want to swing around and take a look.
Sure.
What we're shooting for in this case is a 110-inch screen, and
yeah, guys, I apologize. I didn't have you guys your audio coming through for a moment there, but I just fixed it.
Oh, okay.
Right when you asked me to come into the room.
All right. So in this particular case, we're imagining we've got a scenario where a client already has a projector, and what we're going to use Modus to show is how, in this particular case, the projector they have isn't going to work, and so we're going to use Modus to demonstrate that they need a different setup, and we're not just trying to make a quick buck off of them. We're trying to do what's in their best interest. And so in this particular case, they've got the Epson 4010. It's a great projector. It hits a sweet spot in terms of budget, but the challenge we have is the throw distance. So if I turn on our projector placement assistant here, you'll notice this behaves just like you would expect a projector to in real life. And this is using the real specs from Epson. And so as I bring this guy down here, we can even show the different capabilities in terms of zoom and horizontal shift and vertical shift. And no matter how much I move this guy around, we are still falling short of our 110-inch screen. We are zoomed all the way, and we are shy. And you'll see this outer marking here. That's just indicating where the picture could go if we were messing with our shift. And so this very quickly demonstrates to the customer the problem. There's no more room. In fact, this projector is too far back already. It's actually touching the wall. So we really should have it bringing up or coming forward just a little bit already, which makes that picture even smaller. So this is a great way to introduce an important conversation with the client. And instead of it being bad news, you can turn this into an opportunity to gain their trust and have them really lean on you as the subject matter expert. So we've got a couple options here. So in this particular case, they had their heart set on a big screen. So we could recommend a TV, but we're going to max out around 85 inches unless we start going with LED walls, which is really not something that they've expressed interest in. So what we'll do instead, and this is going to increase the budget by quite a bit, but if they have their heart set on a projector and on being on this wall, our next best option is to go with a short throw projector. So I'm going to first put in a little stand over here, just something to set the projector on. I'm going to bring in one of Sony's projectors. And now we can show them very quickly, hey, look, we could potentially even go with something.
Yeah, they go with a huge screen.
Yeah, they could if they wanted to, right? Because, you just pull this guy out a little bit, and all of a sudden you're pushing much, much bigger sizes. And the nice thing is we don't even have to get this dialed in perfectly. Really the benefit here is just a quick gut check. Okay, are we within the projector spec? Yes. We want a 16:9 screen. This is almost exactly how that setup's going to be, and we can move on to the next item. But without Modus in the mix here, we have a pretty challenging task of educating the client about something that ultimately means them spending more money.
Right, because it's so easy to talk about it, but it's not that easy to show it, even in your showroom, right?
Right, exactly. And so for us to be able to just bring them in quickly, demonstrate these concepts, and educate them, they are now armed with good knowledge of the problem, and they're going to be more open to discussing different solutions. And so that's a really fun one. It's disappointing for them, of course, because they were hoping to reuse some equipment, but it's far less disappointing than if we had gone through the entire install and then they see that they went through all the trouble of a projector only to have a screen that's 90, 95 inches.
Right, because who wants a 95-inch screen when you can have 120? Ken, can we
Exactly.
do some? Can you show us how lighting works in this room too? Just pop some lights up. Adding some lights.
Sure.
I don't know. I didn't really catch much of Scott building out this side of the room, but he looks like he's pretty
Yeah.
close to done. Scott, how you feeling about
Yeah.
this side of the room?
We're done over
Well,
here.
I'll let you do this, Scott. I'll add
On
some
the
movie
pool.
posters while
Yeah.
Cool.
you're
So we got
doing
some TVs over here in the rec room space. And the nice thing about, so we have a lot of generic objects in Modus. Like this pool table is actually a generic object, but we have some standardized pool table sizes. So you can't freely resize it. You do it based on standard sizes of the actual game table. Similarly, we do something like that with other objects. And then sometimes, like these couches that Ken put in, are freely resizable. You can make them whatever size you'd like. Even this beanbag that Ken's putting in the room.
Yeah. I mean, our objective with Modus is to get you to really good, presentable results as quickly as possible. Because the client doesn't really need to see a beanbag here. Like, that's not a big deal to them. But for them to be able to understand the space and how it's going to be used is critical. And that directly impacts the jobs of the integrators, because if this room is a media room, everything else is there to add to that experience.
Nice.
All
So
right,
Scott
so
added
are
some
we good,
decor.
Scott?
Are we looking good, Scott?
Yeah.
Nice.
I think we are done.
Awesome. All right, so Ken, do you want to show through a few more of the little technical concepts and maybe how we can change this room up, how we could possibly show a customer more options than just the one?
Yeah, and so a nice way to look at Modus and the suite of tools is really in two different buckets. The first bucket is the build and design side. That's what we just did right now. Typically, a client isn't present for that. They're not watching that. They don't need to. But then the other bucket is the presentation side. That's where you're really putting your best foot forward. And in most cases, an integrator is slapping down a big stack of papers, right? Here's every single line item. Here's how much it's going to cost. And that's an important step. But a lot of times the challenge there is it makes the client focus more on the price than the end result, right? Because really, they're doing this because of the end result. They want that experience. And so the presentation side is a part where Modus really helps them shine. They can bring that client in and show them. In an ideal case, they can even bring them into VR with the salesperson or designer, and that client is free to walk around, understand the room as if they were really there. But we also have other methods for sharing content too. For example, what we're doing right now, where we're live streaming a session, you can do that with the client as well. And that's where the power of Modus really starts to shine, because as a client asks questions, this is an interactive experience. You can think of it like a whiteboard, and I can pitch different things. I can say, well, hey, look, are we talking, is this room going to be more for sports? And really, we're recommending a 16:9 screen, or is this going to be more for movies? And it might be more appropriate then for us to switch this screen to a 235. But being able to make these changes on the fly quickly can often collapse weeks or even months of back and forth down to a single session. And so that time savings translates directly to margin, right? You are making more money the faster you can get deals designed, signed, and installed.
Speaking of fast, I failed to stop the timer. I stopped it probably a minute after Scott was all wrapped up, and the timer says 7 minutes 31 seconds right now.
Okay, that's not too shabby.
But let's be fair. We did give him a slight head start, so I think we evened it all out in the end. He's still under 7.5 minutes for a build out of a pretty cool space. We've got some different areas over here, a couple TVs, some nice big art, pool table. So yeah, a pretty well built out little area, and probably a fairly good amount of value in the project.
Yeah, and let me show you one other thing while we're in
Sure.
here talking about
Let me come back.
the ability to make changes on the fly. So we had mentioned the client really wanted the screen on this wall. And really, if we had moved the screen over here, we could probably get that original projector to work just fine by reconfiguring the space. And so I'll just eliminate that projector altogether. But what we do with this is we can show the client that although it would technically work, it's not going to be that great of a room from an experience standpoint. Because now I can show them, well, look, if you've got a couch here, it's kind of blocking a lot of your entrance. So I guess we could push the couch to the side. We're likely to have a speaker right here blasting somebody's ear. The flow of the room becomes awkward. And ultimately, if this is what the client wants, that's fine. But we see it as our job as the industry experts to help educate the client and guide them towards the best solution. And in our professional opinion, we believe that this is going to be a layout that they will eventually regret, and they would wish that they had gone a different path. And that's where the value of Modus comes in, right? Is that we can show them this, we can show them why we have concerns about it, so that the client is educated and empowered to make these decisions, and also make them quickly.
Yeah, and that's not a lot of space to get into that room at all. I mean, it would be pretty darn
No.
cramped. And what, you reduce the seat count by 3 or 4 seats just by doing that?
Yeah, because you can't really fit another
No.
chair over here very well without pushing it right up against the screen.
I mean,
So
you
that's
could if
kind
you
of
were a
the use of
bachelor living in an
seat.
apartment. I've done it. I've had 6 couches in my tiny
Yeah.
little living room, but it's not super
you know,
practical.
Yeah, I mean, if this is basically the equivalent of a high-end audio listening room, perfect. Where we've got one chair, I might even recommend this layout. But it's for this particular client, it wasn't. But being able to just do this stuff so quickly, it does a lot of things, right? It helps the client feel good about what they're getting, but it also lets you explore more creative, perhaps out-of-the-box solutions than you'd otherwise feel comfortable doing, just because the cost of change is effectively zero.
Yeah, I like what you did with the ceiling here too. We've got the star field. So once we're done building and presenting in VR, what's the next step?
Yeah, well, the next step is giving the client deliverables. And so that's where Modus has seen a lot of improvement over the last year. And so I'm going to hand it back to you, Patrick, so you can show people how to generate line drawings, photos, and even give a sneak peek of our upcoming panoramic 360s.
Excellent. So to do all that, it's real simple. You just head right on back to the launcher. So here we are. This is the completed project. So obviously the room dimensions haven't changed at all. They didn't change anything there. But when I go in here now, we'll go back and I have some options over here on the right side. So I can open that back up in VR, but we're not interested in that. We're all done with VR for now. Modus Photo we'll get to in a minute. Edit Floor Plan is where we just were, but this is where we want to start for the next portion, is creating the line drawings. Now, the first thing you're going to notice is it immediately populates a floor and reflected ceiling plan. And this is great because now I have the ability to just come in here, see the room as it exists, look at the ceiling plan, and create some additional views. So to add some extra views, you just hit this little camera button, and we're going to call this media room screen wall elevation. Awesome. And so I can actually drag this little camera around. You'll see this view will update in real time as I move it around. And so to create these is really a very pain-free process. So what I want to capture here is actually, I want to capture the screen and the beanbag chair, and we've also got this projector here. So what I'm going to try and actually clip that beanbag chair out of this image. There we go. So that gives us a nice view of the stand. It's going to basically take whatever you have on that wall and what's inside of this blue box and create a nice line drawing of it. So another one that was important, I actually noticed that we had a couple TVs over here on this wall. So let's just capture that as well. And so there's a lot of options that you can use here. We can use this for reference drawings for your installers. If you want to send them out, we can mark this up with dimensions. Like Ken mentioned, it's nice to have deliverables to send your customer home with as well. People love tangibles, right? They don't want to just leave your store with a concept in their mind. It doesn't generate the same amount of excitement that having tangibles really does. And maybe one more thing. So I noticed that Scott had put some diffusers on this wall. So let's call those out as well. They're going to be part of the package for the customer. And I think the other one on the rear wall of the theater, there were some speakers as well. Let's take a look. Yep, pair of speakers there also. So what we're going to do is we will then go in. See if I can get rid of that couch entirely. Close. There we go. Nope, too far. Okay. So what we'll do is actually go in and annotate this, and from here we can add dimensions. So let's just go in here. We had a bunch of speakers in the ceiling. So one of the things that we want to make sure is that our installers know where they're supposed to cut these holes. So we can go ahead and just say this one is 3 feet 5 inches from that particular wall, and 5 feet 2 from this wall. That's going to be our dimension for the first speaker, and maybe we want to also call out how far away they are from each other. And then we obviously have the ceiling lights here. So having all this dimensionality serves a lot of purposes, but it can be really helpful for your installation team to know where things are going to go. So we'll go ahead and take that. Maybe for reference on the screen wall, your customer wants to know how big that actual screen was, width and height, so that they know exactly what they're expecting for. Maybe they want to plan on putting some art on the wall too, and they want to know that this space on the sides is available. So we can call out what kind of space we're taking up with the projection system and with the cabinetry here. And then in this room, we've got those 2 televisions on the wall, so let's just call those out. So they're going to be mounted 2 feet 2 inches down from the ceiling, and maybe we just want to also call out how high they are off the floor. So you can show all this. These are electrical outlets, I think, that Scott put in there. Here's these rear speakers. So once we have all this nice stuff documented and ready to go, we can take this and then save it, and then we want to generate some drawings. We can also do, real quickly, I'll just show, we can do notation as well. So rear, that'd be the right side. Rear right speaker, and you can just call it out like so. So that way people know exactly what's on the drawing. So once you have it all ready to go, we can go in here and generate drawings. We'll call this AV Pros Demo Room. And so you can go in here, you can change the logo. So if you want to put your own company information in here, change out the phone number, the address, logo, etc. That's all in the settings. But really what's important is you click Generate Drawings here. It's going to automatically name it off the file. Now I'll go into our PDF viewer and you can see what this final drawing actually looks like. So it gives you this nice, beautiful, formatted, professional looking set of drawings that you can send off to the customer. You could send it off to someone else in the trade if you needed to send it off to a general contractor, or maybe the electrician. Maybe you're doing the lighting design and you want the electrician to put all these lights in for you. You can give them this and you can notate all that. You've got your screen dimensions. Here's the offsets for the televisions, etc. I didn't actually do what I said I was going to do and call out this acoustic diffusion panel, but you can always go back and edit too. That's the nice thing about it. So that's great, having some nice line drawings to send off, nice reference docs, but that's not really what's going to excite your client. Your client's going to get more excited about the pretty renders that we're able to get out of Modus Photo. So we're going to launch Modus Photo, and you'll see this launches up, and this is actually a... Oops. Sorry about that. This is actually a sister app to Modus VR. So this looks really similar to Modus VR. And so I mentioned it's a companion, so it actually uses the same technology as Modus VR, but right now to navigate this, I'm not using a VR headset. I'm actually just using a mouse and a keyboard, or you could use like an Xbox controller if you're more comfortable navigating a space like this with a traditional gaming controller. The nice thing about this that you'll notice, though, is that the lighting in the room is a little bit more dynamic, and we can actually go in and control things like the different types of lights. I can also open and close there we go. Open and close the shades, which will let more light into the room as well. So we can actually go in and adjust all these parameters to get these perfect looking renders. So maybe we want to get a couple shots of just the media room here, and we can throw some content up on the screen as well. So let's go with the Top Gun trailer. Let's see. There we go. Some Maverick. So we love Tom Cruise. Our customer loves Tom Cruise, so let's just get him in the shot. And then we want to bring the lights down a little bit just to get some extra contrast. Shades are closed. Hopefully we have enough light to see this pretty well. And then once I hit the Enter key, as it shows up in the top right corner, like so, it takes a snapshot, and you see that down in the bottom left corner. There's a little thumbnail of it. So you're able to really quickly create these beautiful professional-looking renders. And the nice thing about this is that anybody can do this. It doesn't take someone specific that knows how to draw in CAD. So there's two things that are great about that. One, it doesn't require a specialty person to do it. But two, it happens so quickly. In the matter of 23 minutes that we've been doing the demo so far, we've gone through the entire process of designing the space, including all the technology that we want to sell. So the 2 televisions and this diffusion panel, speakers, etc. And so maybe this is the angle we want to grab. We want to grab something kind of artsy and grab part of the table here. So you can actually go through and change your zoom as well as your focus. So if I want to blur out the pool table and create this kind of cool looking vibe, it's ready for Instagram now. Hit enter. So that's going to capture that shot. After you've done all this, the last and final part, and this room's going to be somewhat challenging, but I'm going to try and grab this from this location. Let me just fix that. I'm going to turn the lights up quite a bit, make this room nice and bright, and I'm going to open up the windows for this. So this view that you see right now in 360 degrees is our newest feature in Modus VR and Modus Photo. What it allows us to do is take a snapshot of this particular position in a 360 degree view. So by hitting Control and Enter, I'm going to take it starting at this position here, you'll see that it starts generating the Modus 360 image. Now I'm going to go ahead and share the link to this with you guys, so you can see it right here in chat. And all of these deliverables will also be made available to you from the CEDIA site, so you can go in and pull up any of these screenshots, the PDF documentation, and there's the 360 view, and I believe Ken is posting those as well. So you can take all this content and send it home with your customer. And the great thing about that is it gives you a nice start-to-finish process for a sales experience that's unlike anything anybody else can give. It sets you aside from your competitors. It generates such great referrals. We have a number of our customers who they didn't even sell anything using Modus, but they actually got a referral from the person that came in and said, you know, I saw this cool VR thing at the integrator down the street. You should go check it out. And you know, people will come to see VR. It's really an amazing tool. And so we're happy to talk through this. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to post them up in the chat. Send us a contact if you guys want to learn more about pricing and availability. But we're here to help, and we appreciate you guys joining us today at CEDIA. Thanks for joining in for the demo. We've got, I believe, two more, I think, to go through today. So we'll have 2 more rooms. All the rooms have been different, so you'll see all that on the page as well. So stop back in about 30 minutes for the next demo, and we hope to see you soon. Thanks for stopping by. Have a good one.